Hi, everybody. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome. Okay, good. If you want to go ahead and you can mute yourselves, and that way there won't be any extra audio. And then we're going to start with the music after we get everybody in. All right. All right, we'll go ahead and start with music. Can you see the, let's see here. Go back to it. Can you see music where it says music? Awesome. All right. Well, my name is Mr. Hobson, and some of you know me. My goal for students is to experience music in a way that they're going to use for the rest of their lives and cherish. Teach them skills that they need for success in creating and performing music on multiple instruments. And it builds connections in the brain. If I have enough time, I want to play a quick video for you, and it kind of explains a little bit more about it. And helps with like memory, critical thinking, honing fine motor skills, and problem solving. For kindergarten, a lot of things that we do is keeping a beat on the drums, moving to music, singing in a group. We play marimbas, we have little hand drums that we keep a beat on and do a lot of back and forth. My first and second grade class, they also do a lot of keeping a beat, moving to music, but they add in a little bit more complicated rhythms and things like that. We have a game called rhythm basketball that we do. And let me let some people in real quick. Okay, because there we go. Okay. We play a game called rhythm basketball that I made up where the students clap a rhythm and they're on two different teams. And I have like a little rhythm I hold up for them. And they clap it. If they get it correct, they get a point. And then they also get to use a ball that I borrowed from Mr. Wise. And they get to throw it from 4 locations that gradually get more points if you make it from further away. And so they really like that game. I actually play that with all the grades, and it gets more and more complicated as we get into like 7th grade. The 5th and 6th, skip to 3rd and 4th. In 3rd and 4th, they do a lot of music reading. So not only do we do the rhythms, but we do all the notes of the staff of the treble clef. They do marimba technique and different songs. We have a few songs that they may be talking to you about. One of their favorites is a song called My Haunted Backpack. And they like that one a lot. It's kind of a Halloween theme. In 5th and 6th grade, we do guitar parts and strings. They learn how to tune. They learn how to play a few chords. They learn how to play a few chords, and then they learn like strumming. If you guys could remember to mute yourselves so there's not extra music or extra notes, whatever I'm trying to say. Always, it's all the same, right? So they learn a lot of marimba songs in 5th grade as well. So they do like small group playing. Before COVID, it was a little bit easier to do some of the small group things, but now we kind of spread out a little bit more and we do that. And they also, again, they do rhythm basketball. And then in 7th and 8th grade, we do a rock band. So they take all the skills they've learned from the previous grades, if they're here at Westgate, and they apply that to rock band style. They get to choose their own songs, and they get to choose their own instruments. And I have things from like electric piano, we have marimbas, of course, and guitars. They can bring in their own instruments. I've had trumpets. I've had people play a kazoo. So we do like the drum set and bass guitar and all those things. And we have a lot of fun. Right now, one of the songs they're working on is Come Together by the Beatles. So you might know that one. And let's get to the video. And I'm going to skip some of it so that I have enough time. So I'm going to skip the parts up until they talk about the well-connected brain.
There's no sound with the video.
Oh, is there no sound on it? Okay, well, I'll have to post this video so that you guys can see it. I'm not going to troubleshoot it right now. Thank you for letting me know. All right, let me let the last couple people in. We can do questions at the end of all of the presentations, but we're going to pass this on to Mr. Wise, our PE teacher.
Hello, Mr. Wise, physical education teacher. My goal for the students is just to introduce them to a variety of wellness-related activities so that they can find some way that they enjoy being active for the rest of their lives, something that motivates them, something they want to do that's physically active to keep them active and healthy. My vision is to inspire a generation of students to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle and to develop a physically literate individuals. So someone who's physically literate understands the physical and mental benefits of physical activity. They have the confidence and motivation to take responsibility for regular engagement, so they know how to be physically active. They recognize the benefits of it, and then they're able to find the motivation to get themselves to participate in regular physical activity. So here's kind of a general schedule that all my classes follow. Monday and Tuesdays are our skill development days. A lot of times the students will be rotating through various stations that are working on a specific skill, or they'll be participating in some small-sided activities working to develop that skill. Wednesdays are the beloved workout Wednesdays. We talk a lot about our heart rate and the heart rate zones. We get our heart rate monitors out. 3rd grade through 8th grade has heart rate monitors that they use during their workouts. And their name pops up on the iPad and they're able to see exactly what percentage of their maximum heart rate they're working at. And so, if a student drops out of the zone, they can reference the iPad and be like, oh, I need to pick it up a little bit. So they can push themselves a little harder. If they're at 100% of their maximum heart rate, I'm usually like, hey, buddy, come here, go get a drink, relax for a minute. I don't want you to kill yourself. You're not helping yourself anymore when you're above your maximum heart rate. So and then they'll go through a variety of workouts. We have our Tabata workouts, our ladder workouts, jump rope workout, scooter abs, and then about once a quarter, the students will design their own workout. And then they'll have their heart rate monitors on. They'll go through their workout and see, did their exercise that they put together, did it benefit them? Did it get them up into the zone? Thursdays are health days. Talk a lot about the connection between mind and body, strong mind. And then Friday are our game days. So we play some sort of large-sided game focusing around the skills that we've been working on. Some of the student outcomes for K4: move safely through space, demonstrate competency in fine motor and locomotor movement skills and movement patterns. They know their muscles and how to stretch them properly. They understand what sportsmanship is and how to be a good sport. We don't really shake hands anymore, but we tell each other, good game, hey, way to go, you did awesome. Demonstrate the ability to problem solve during a game. They, again, start talking about those benefits of regular physical activity at a pretty basic level. They know the 5 food groups and can give examples of each group. They know how to they use that knowledge to then make healthy eating choices. And they understand different ways to keep your heart healthy. And that works into our jump rope for heart, now called Kids Heart Challenge, that we try to participate in every year. 5 through 8, a little more in depth. They demonstrating proper transition, offense and defense, explaining tactical decisions in a variety of games, when it's appropriate to take a risk for your team and when it's not appropriate to take a risk. They recognize the 5 components of physical fitness and understand how to maintain them, being cardiorespiratory endurance, flexibility, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and body composition. And they can identify reasons why it's good to be physically active, not just for your health, but for social interaction, self-expression, challenging themselves. They demonstrate, again, good sportsmanship. Muscles demonstrate knowledge of how to stretch the muscles in the body, and they can apply the FIT principle when designing a personal workout for themselves. So really we talk a lot about just experience it, I try to get them to experience a variety of different activities just to find some way that they might like being active. Really just talking a lot about the connection between the brain and the body. Like that's what Westgate really believes. Strong body, strong brain. We need those two things. So yeah, we'll take some questions here at the end. I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. H. Miss H.
One day. One day, yes. Hello. Hope you all can see me. I'm the new art teacher. My name is Miss H, Miss Houghton. And in art class, there we go. So in my classroom, it's my mission to really create a fun and safe space for students to explore different mediums. I like to kind of challenge them and have them think outside the box with what they're doing. I know a lot of the times, like when you're painting, you're just gonna paint, right? Just paint straight on paper. But I like them to kind of think about what other ways that they can use the medium that they are learning about. I really like to build their self-confidence as they grow into like creative thinkers. So a big thing with art is it's not just about creating something, it's about problem solving and figuring out how to kind of transition from thinking like they do in their normal classroom to thinking in a creative, artistic way and kind of combining the two as well. My vision is that art is about creativity and expression. We develop individually through it. We work together through collaboration. I love doing collaboration projects with the whole class, which are a lot of fun. We believe in imagination and the heart and the mind. So we like to, like, as I said, self-expression is a huge thing. So not only do we just we learn about history and we learn about art through culture and everything, but we also connect it to things that are happening in our lives. So if we're studying George O'Keeffe, right, we're not just going to make a flower to make a flower. I want them to connect it to something in their lives. We had kids connecting or making flowers similar to George O'Keeffe that were their parents' favorite flowers or their favorite flowers or a flower that reminded them of someone. Like all of that somehow connects. We develop skills and it takes time and practice, of course. Like a kindergartner is not going to do a beautiful painting, right off the bat. They're still learning those things, but that's okay. We ask questions. Questions are huge in my classroom. I love the kids to ask questions and really think about what they're doing. We have a rule in my room: before you come and ask the teacher, ask the people at your table. Collaborate with your classmates, collaborate with people at other tables, kind of like work with each other before you go and ask the teacher, because of course the teacher is probably going to know the answer, right? But we want to see if they know the answer themselves. Oh, it's not working. Work with me. No. There we go. So our kindergarten through fourth grade classes, they're going to be learning the basics of the elements of design. Kindergarten is going to be learning just basically about line, shape, color, whereas all the way up through fourth grade, we're going to be looking into the other elements of design, which include form and shape and space and all of that. Students will be focusing on these through not only drawing, but painting and 3D sculpture. So I try to hit all of the different areas of art. And each semester, they're going to have a project that focuses on a famous artist. They're going to have a project that focuses on self-expression, and they're going to have a project that will include some sort of artistic subject, whether that be perspective or still life, portraiture, landscape, that kind of stuff. So fifth through eighth grade, they're going to be not only reviewing the elements of design, but they're also going to be learning and reviewing the principles of design as well. So these include pattern, texture, kind of more complicated ideas of the elements just elaborated on. Students will experiment with new art mediums and new ways of thinking about their art mediums. Right now with the 7th, 8th graders, we're creating a mural, which is going to be really exciting for the school. So it's a big collaboration project. And they're actually using crayons as their medium. So instead of coloring with the crayons itself is going to be what they're creating, like using for the mural, which is going to be really cool. I'm excited to see like the 3D element to the final piece. Each semester, students will have projects that focus on, oh, we got people wanting to join. Oh, never mind. Okay. They left. But each semester we'll have projects that focus on, again, a famous artist. I like to bring in that idea of history and seeing kind of where art came from. Self-expression, of course, that is a big thing for me. I like the kids to connect what they're doing with either their lives, something they're passionate about, things like that. They're going to do the art subjects, perspective, still life. A lot of them are really interested in portraiture, so we will be focusing on that this year. Landscapes, abstraction's a huge one. Thinking about like how to show something without showing that specific thing, which is a lot of fun. And of course, collaboration. That is a huge one for me. I've always loved kids working together. I just think it makes art more fun, in my opinion. But yeah, so we'll take questions at the end. I'm going to pass it off to Miss Novak. She's going to be talking about our iLab.
Hi, I hope you all can see me. Am I going to echo?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll mute on our side.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just downstairs. I'm in my office and they're up in the classroom. So my apologies that I'm not sitting with them. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amanda Novak. I'm the high school assistant principal, and I also work with the specials team. So I've gotten to work with Jasmine Kang, who is really she's the mastermind behind Innovation Lab and design thinking, and she's created amazing plans. And right now we have a sub in the classroom who's been working because Jasmine had a little one at home, which is wonderful. So she's been hanging with her baby. So Mrs. Beth Martinez Humanek has been our long-term sub starting this year. And what I'm going to do is just share a little bit about what Innovation Lab is. It's a brand new thing at Westgate, and we're really excited about it. So I want to give you sort of a foundation for what it is. What is Innovation Lab? What is design thinking? And then what are some of the things that students are doing in that class and learning in that class? So what is design thinking? Design thinking is a human-centered iterative process for creative problem solving. So that's like, there's a lot in that sentence, right? It's one of the most important things, well, it's all important. It's creative, it's iterative, and it's human-centered. So one of the things that I like to say is it kind of flips traditional problem solving on its head. Actually, I'll get through this slide and then I'll give sort of an example of what I mean by that. One of the goals of this class is that students will learn the design thinking process and then solve real world problems. So really look at it and then make it happen. Actually get into the solving mode, create awesome things, and do the work, right? So we have had amazing things already happening this year and amazing things being built and showcased and problems being solved. One of the important pieces of design thinking is having an innovation mindset, an innovator's mindset. So focusing on human values, having a bias toward action, embracing experimentation, collaborating across boundaries, and building creative confidence. In design thinking, it's also important to be non-judgmental. So every idea is a good idea, right? It's this idea that in traditional problem solving, maybe you first think about your limitations. Maybe the first thing you do is think about budget. Maybe you work within the constraints that you already have. So when we were introducing this to students, we talked about how one of the best examples, there's a lot of great examples of companies that use design thinking. That includes Nike and Apple and Uber Eats and Grubhub. And one of my favorite to talk about is Airbnb. And even though I'm not quite the expert on this yet, I'm learning alongside you and your students. What I think is awesome about like the Airbnb example is that it really does show how design thinking has flipped it on traditional problem solving on its head. So we talk to students about so hotels, you go to travel, like who's traveled, who's been in a hotel, and we sort of talked about the different problems the hotel might have, right? And they had great examples. And you can talk about traditional problem solving, like what might you do to fix that? Well, if you do design thinking, the first thing you're going to say is what does the client want? You want to think about the person that wants to travel. What do they want? Maybe what they want is a kitchen, right? Maybe what they want is something that feels more homey. Maybe they want to bring their pet and park their car. And so students had some great examples of what feels good. And Airbnb took that design thinking process and created a system where someone can travel and they don't have to stay in a hotel. They can stay in a home and they can park their car and they can bring their pets and they can cook in a kitchen. And So it's this idea that it is really human-centered. There's no limits, right? The first thing you do is just get all the ideas on the table, and then you can talk about limits. So it's this constant iterative process of like dreaming big and then scaling back and talking about the goals, and then dreaming big and then scaling back and talking about how to make it happen. So it's awesome that we get to teach this type of thing in class. So if you go to the next slide, Bridget, will you do that for me? Thank you. So this is a picture of like what is the design process, and I love it. It's the bird's eye view. And so this is fantastic. I love that it talks about the phases of design thinking, the outcomes, and the mindsets. So I'm not going to read over all of it. I'm just going to give you a moment to look at it. But some of the really important pieces of this is empathy, it's ideation, and it's like prototyping and testing. And I had just mentioned those mindsets before, but really these are the core like constructs of the design thinking process. Now I'll tell you a little bit about what that looks like in the class. So for elementary students, their goals and their weekly objectives focus on growth mindset, failure and reflection, collaboration, empathy and ideation, prototyping, and testing. So it's really a student-centered way to move through all of those core components of design thinking. The big skills that Jasmine will tell your students all about is like overcoming failure is one of the most important skills to teach, which is really centered around growth mindset, purposeful reflection, collaboration, and beginning to creatively problem solve. So that's what we get to do. Some of the examples of the projects that you might see at the elementary grade levels are foil float task, the catapult task, and a waterproof container. So as an example, just to give you a picture of like what one of these might look like, I pulled one of the lesson plans, and for the foil float task, it reads this. It says, I got in a disagreement with my little brother who's 23 this summer. I was telling him about a foil boat that I made for our family lake day, and he said that foil couldn't float like a boat, especially if it had any weight on it. I told him that it absolutely can, and I bet my first and second graders can create a design that can hold 100 marbles and still float. So now we need your help. For our first task this year, first and second graders, you have to help prove my brother wrong. So that's like one of the tasks. And then she lays out how you brainstorm how to create something like that from a piece of foil that will hold 100 marbles for 10 seconds without sinking or gaining water. Then she breaks it down to like giving students a certain amount of time to just ideate by themselves, just like all the ideas in the world, no judgment. And then you ideate with like your team by creating sketches on Post-it notes and putting them on the wall, and just all the ideas in the world, right? Again, like no judgment, just anything you can think of, put it on the wall. And then as a table group, deciding on 2 designs and then making it, prototyping it, and testing it. And we have seen like some of these projects, and I'll talk about secondary in a second too. We've seen these projects come to life in the classroom, and it's been really, really fun to watch. And I know kids have had a lot of fun too. So for secondary goals, surprise, surprise, same objectives, right? Because all of those things are across all grade levels. We need to talk about growth mindset, failure and reflection, collaboration, empathy and ideation, prototyping and testing. Some of the projects at the secondary levels are paper chain, tallest tower, saving food, Rube Goldberg, which a bunch of students just completed some amazing Rube Goldberg machines, passion projects, and then Westgate Solutions. So right now, I know they're working on some passion projects where they're creating like ideas for what they want to do in the future. I think we have somebody right now working on like opening, like what would it be like to make a bakery happen? Like get a bakery. I want a bakery in Winter Park. What does that look like and how do I do it? And so just a lot of creativity, a lot of innovation, a lot of excitement, and excited to see where this class goes. Logan, I don't know if you want to take it back and sort of lead a Q&A session, but I think that is where we are at. So if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them as they come.
I'm back. All right. I haven't used Teams just yet, so let's see. Yeah, I already got it. Stop the sharing. We'll go to this. All right. I guess, yes, the slides will be available later for review. They will be posted by Holly Peterson. I guess you can type the questions out and I'll answer them to the best of my ability, unless it's for someone else. Or I can unmute you if you'd like, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Okay, I just thought it would be simpler instead of forcing my way through typing. A couple of questions. How do you guys calculate heart rate for your PE?
That's not one of his questions.
I know it's not one of his questions. He's the music teacher.
Well, what was the question again?
For the physical education teacher, how does he calculate heart rate? Maximum.
We have our heart rate monitors that each student wears. So they come into class, each student's name is on the iPad, and then they have a corresponding heart rate number. And it's an actual heart rate monitor.
No. I understand the heart rate monitor. How do you calculate their maximum heart rate?
Oh, 220 minus their age.
Okay, just a simple formula.
And
okay.
that would be 100%. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not 100% accurate for each student, but that's in general,
Right,
that's
yeah,
how we calculate our maximum. And then to figure out our 70% of our maximum, we just multiply it by 0.7.
7%.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so the students try and keep their heart rate in between there, and so long as their heart rate's in between 70 and 100%, there's a little timer on the iPad, and it times them. And if the goal is 20 minutes, they're trying to stay in between that, in the performance heart rate zone for 20 minutes.
Sure, yeah. And then I had just another question on the iLab, for instance, with the foil boat, which is just an awesome idea. Do you guys also talk about some of the physics with that, some of the mathematics with it, such as buoyancy and stuff like that?
I haven't, I'm not the teacher in the room right now. I'm imagining yes, right? That's part of it. And one thing I have witnessed as I've been up there in some of the projects I have seen is this awesome collaboration. So students are going around and watching each other's tests, watching the prototypes and watching the testing happening, and then offering like thoughts and questions. So there's a lot of inquiry around that testing period, and then going like back to the prototype and doing it again and again, right? And knowing that like it takes multiple different designs to get to the one that you want. And so I am imagining yes. And I think that one of the goals that Jasmine has is like collaborating with teachers, right? Going very cross-curricular and bringing in the science teacher in that pod and the math teacher in that pod.
Yeah.
And so though it's brand new and I can't say that that's happened yet, I am 100% sure that that is like part of the plan, because collaboration is such an important part of iLab.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll answer the music question real quick, and then I'll pass on to the art questions. Fifth graders will be able to bring their guitar. So if they have a guitar, they're more than welcome to bring it. And you'll probably hear it throughout the year. On Fridays, I let usually the smaller kids, they're allowed to bring in their instruments that they have for show and tell. So, and it can be any instrument. I have had kids like create their own because they wanted to kind of be a part of it as well, which is fine. And harmonicas are common, and any of the little guitars and things. And yes, for electric guitars as well. Yes, you can bring in amps. If they don't have an amp that you want to lug around, or if it's not small enough, we can use our amps that we have here. I'll pass it on.
Okay.
For your questions.
Tag in really quick. Okay, so there were a few art questions. Are the sections of famous artists pre-chosen or chosen by me? So they are chosen by me. I kind of try to get famous artists from pretty much all like of the art time periods, I guess. So I have like really new artists like Banksy. I have older artists like George O'Keeffe. We talk about like prehistorical art, like cave paintings and stuff. I really try to span the, I guess, whole of history when it has to do with art. I mean, I'm really open to suggestions. If you have artists that you want your kids to like learn about or possibly incorporate, my email is on the Westgate website. You are more than happy. Like, I would love to hear about more artists. I'm always ready to learn and see what else I can figure out. And then, is it only Western art or other forms of art from all parts of the world? All parts of the world. One thing that I'm really excited to do is we're going to do Japanese tea bowls with our 5 and 6 and probably 7, 8 as well. Later on, probably next semester. I got to check the kiln and make sure everything's good with that before I even start it. But we will be doing Japanese tea bowls, which will be really fun. And then I do like to just kind of bounce around and see what's interesting. Even like with the kids, I ask them what they're interested in. So
That last question is for Mr. Hobson or myself. I'm happy to address it as well. So there was a sort of rumor on the parents' page that kids were using recorders and they were being shared. Mr. Hobson, do you want to address that?
Sure. They were not being shared at any point. So I had a whole lot of brand new recorders that we ordered during COVID last year. And so I gave every student their own recorder. It was never used. It was brand new. I even had them clean it again just because if they got, I mean, they're in little sleeves, but just to double check and keep everything clean and sanitary. And no, they did not share them. If they did, I did not see it. I made that a very, the short time that we actually got to play recorders this year, I made sure that they understood you're not to share recorders or anything, and they were spaced out. And then of course the rules and things changed for it, and so we did that. But no, they were not sharing any recorders. It looks like we're pretty much out of time. Or are there any last ones?
I missed it. Sorry, did you just say like what is the status on recorders now? That was the end of that question.
We're not playing recorders now.
I might have missed that if you said it, so I just want to make sure.
Sorry, no, I did not read that part. No, we're not using recorders anymore. We've shifted to marimbas, which are not breathing instruments. So you can just use your hands for that. If there's any other questions, or if you think of one later, you're more than welcome to email us at our school emails. And we'll have this recording posted, I assume, in the next day or so. He loves the marimbas. That's really good to hear. Yeah, they've been really digging the marimbas. We've had some really fun songs.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Definitely.
Thank you all for your time.
Welcome. Thanks for coming in. It was good to see everybody. All right.